What did you make of kind of the whole setup and the environment and what ultimately he said?
It was different. I thought, we were kind of called in there last minute, and I thought there would be some questions. I know they just wanted to get their side out, get their side known, because they're, as you know, in these situations, you're always hearing things and you're not sure what. I'm sure for average fans, you don't know what's legit or not. So that was the desire there. Understand that. I felt it was kind of weird because, or just is very different, odd, however you want to say it, because it's not the sort of thing you see when you have a situation that you feel is ongoing. And I think before that statement, I felt like this was a situation that was ongoing. In other words, you could see something maybe transpiring after the season, depending on how things moved during the season. But this had the feel of a statement that you make at the end of your line rather than in the middle.
Yeah, it's crazy. Why would they make a statement? Why would they put that out knowing? And I don't think Bruce is that bright, but you don't have to agree with me or disagree with me. But why would you put out that statement knowing most average people would know that's going to infuriate, and he knew that, it's going to infuriate Kirk and his camp?
Good answer for that, because I have the same question and think that's a question that you would like to have asked, just that why did you do this now? And I know, again, from their standpoint, it's we want to get our side known, and that's fine. But I think you risk then turning fans against the quarterback. If that's your goal, is to win the PR battle, you can lose the war, okay? And so I don't understand. I wish we could ask that question, because maybe there's a legitimate answer. Maybe things, I think you look at how other teams handle that sort of situation, and it's always, hey, we couldn't strike a deal. We still want this guy here. Which is what the Redskins have been saying all off season. This is the first time that publicly they've said anything other than we want him here long term. We love him. Blah blah blah.
So if the Redskins realize that it may cost at minimum $28.8 million for the transition, and if he really has a good year and they want to keep him again, it's going to cost them $35 million. All right, so that would be 79. If they get signed him to another franchise, they got $79 million over 3 years, all guaranteed.
Correct.
What is the scenario with that? Banking on him? Are they banking on him having an average year? I mean, if he has a good year and they make the playoffs, he's going to get minimum the 28.8. If they let him walk, he's going to get $80 million guaranteed from some other team. What is the scenario that you see? What is the future at that position after Cousins goes?
Good question. I think, and to me, and this is, I don't want to be too long with this, but the timing to me has always been off on this. And if you really wanted to, people talk about trade. If you want to make a trade, you had to make this offer before the draft, so you knew for sure. Okay, and the timing is bad now for that. So you're going to play through it with him this year. And then after that, if they let him walk and you get that third-round comp pick in 2019, then you're looking at a scenario with Colt McCoy and then Nate Sudfeld. I think we need to see a lot more from Sudfeld to sit there and say he could be a future starter. That's not saying he can't. You just have to see a lot more. The bridge guy would be Colt McCoy, and then you look at the draft, and this is a very good draft. And also, if you have a good enough year, you're not going to be in position to draft one of those guys. So it makes it a little bit tougher. But they have always felt like they have the options. And even when, in late March, Bruce Allen was talking about the options they had. At that time, their offers were still far apart. So it's not like things were poisoned that much where the Redskins were going to say it's either this or nothing. We're going to let them go. They feel like, they still have these options. I mean, it's hard to imagine the franchise tag being a legitimate one at $34 million. The transition one is possible. But what if San Francisco makes an offer that they just don't want to match, and then you're letting them walk for free?
Right.
So
I don't think the transition is in play, because there will be an offer, right? I don't even think that's in play.
I think you're right. I think a lot of it too depends on, let's say San Francisco has a really bad year, and they're in position to let's say they have the first pick. Well, then that kind of removes them from the Cousins sweepstakes, because you now have a chance to get a younger quarterback cheaper who should have more upside given his standing. So, so I think that's why I say I think so. Then if they're let's say they're out of play, let's say Jared Goff plays well well enough in L.A. to keep building with him, and they're out of play. Those would be the two best places for Cousins, or the two most likely destinations for Cousins if they're free. So now maybe another team, maybe would another team go out and do that, or would Cousins then just sign the transition tag right away, knowing he'll get $28 million and be in a good spot with the Redskins that plays out well this season? So that's what. There's so many factors. And my head hurts talking about all this because there's so many factors still at play. But I agree with you. I think the transition tag would be hard because you might not. Someone will make him an offer.
Right, it's not in play.
And yeah. So yeah, I think it's a difficult one to fathom. But I think there's so many factors that could enter into a decision like that. And here's the other thing. Again, if those two teams are off the table, let's say Cleveland comes with an offer. What if he doesn't want to go there? Would he even sign their offer? And so
right.
Maybe he just says, well, screw it, I'll take the transition tag and we'll play it out again next year.